can you see this person's perspective,
Right.
but can you see beyond this barrier that is in front of you right now? And we do get to that place of gratitude and actually appreciation. Now, it takes us refusing to stay in a victim mindset in order to do that.
We are ready for launch date. Well, I don't know if we're ready or not. It's been one of those days. Ever since I tried to make my false eyelashes last more than a day, and I woke up this morning to craziness on my eyes. Teri Pugh, you look fabulous today. I
Thank you,
love your
ma'am.
hair.
Thank you. It is getting long and getting gray, and I love it too. Thank you.
It's a thing. I just, it's so funny because somebody said, "Are you going to put color on your hair?" And I said, I may not because God's doing a good job and it's free. So,
Right. It's
you
like,
know,
hello.
I've been in a moment. I think every spring I get in a moment of change.
Mm-hmm.
I get the thought of, I look at my life and I go, what's not working?
Mm-hmm.
How and instead, I mean, old me used to just complain about all the stuff, and I could complain for years about stuff that wasn't working.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now I know that if it's not working, I don't have the time to waste on it. I can change that and go, well, why do I have to do that anymore? If it's not working, let's do something different.
Sure. Sure. It's so funny. You and I haven't even spoken this week other than me. Let me just say this real quick. I have to read it because I don't know what all these fancy words are. Well, I do know what they are, but I reached out to you yesterday because it had been announced that you are the latest member of the Tennessee Radio Hall of Fame class of 2023.
Thank you.
I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited for you. And I could not be for a more lovely person. And I know that look at
Thank
that
you.
light just coming in above my head back
I
here.
know,
Just
it's
like,
like the Lord just
I know,
started
it's just like, hello. I think that's Otis back here. Sorry. But
I'm going to go with Jesus, but
there you go. There you go. Well, that could be one and the same. I don't know, but
yeah.
whatever. But yeah, you and I reached out yesterday just to congratulate you on that because I'm just so over the moon excited for you.
Thank you.
But it's funny that today this is the topic because we don't really ever talk about. Usually, I just sign on and I go, "What are we going to talk about today?" But yeah, sometimes in life we have unexpected things happen. They waylay us upside the head, and it's one of those. What the actual
Yeah.
is happening, and we have to learn to be responsible for how we respond in the moments,
Yeah.
and we have to learn to look at the things that are not in our control, being able to go, okay, well,
Mhm.
what can I control? I can control the way I treat myself. I can control the way I treat others. I can control the way that I show up,
Right.
how I eat, how I sleep, taking meds, whatever it is, we can
Mhm.
control those things. So, yeah, I think this is a season, they always say things bloom in the spring, right? Of course, Nashville weather is kind of like we should have mood stabilizers for that because it's one day it's 30 and the next day it's 80 and the next day it's 50. But um, it is a different season. So
Yeah.
I don't know what you've got shaken out going on that's changing. I saw that again your lovely announcement that I am over the moon for you. But did you have a topic you wanted to unpack today, or just kind of in general?
My thing that I think is really interesting is when if you have something that is not working for you
Mm-hmm.
and you can complain about it or you can change it. And there are positive changes. We look at change and change is scary. Change is hard. Change is whatever. Or you can
Change is change.
change is change. The only thing constant is change, and change can be good. And I started looking around and I go, it's springtime. What can we get rid of? What is no longer serving me?
Right.
You
So you
know,
doing a deep clean?
I'm doing a deep clean. I am donating, I am giving away, but it's also a deep clean. We always think about the decluttering of things,
Mm-hmm.
but it works in jobs, it works in relationships, it works in there are things about where we live that don't serve us any longer. I mean, I am looking and I'm not going to do it today or tomorrow, but I'm looking at I never knew I would be interested in living life maybe more minimalistically. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
even campers are like so cool. And I thought, wouldn't that be a cool life to have a cool little gypsy van or a gypsy camper or a schoolie or something? I go, I'm fascinated by that. And I thought, there's a time in my life where I might just think that's better than all of the stuff and everything that encumbers. What will my next act be? So that's kind of where I am thinking it. And we got 10 people already leaving comments. So let's get to all the people that have joined.
Yeah, sure. Hello, everybody.
Elizabeth, hi sunshines. Yes,
Hi,
Elizabeth, and Steve
Elizabeth.
is there. Thank you,
Hello, Steve.
Steve. Thank you, thank you. And Tim is with us. We haven't seen
Hey,
Tim in a
Tim.
while. Yes, and oh, thank you for the congratulations, everybody. And Joyce is with us. Yay, Joyce made it with us. And Tim, oh, thank you. Brian, and we haven't seen Brian in a while. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad that you're able to join us. He's always on the playback and leaves such nice comments.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
well, here we start, and this is our subject: complain, accept, or change. There you go. Complain, accept, or change. And I
Hmm.
thought earlier in my life that complaining was the answer. And then I thought, well, I had to accept it because I made the decision. It wasn't a good decision, but I got to sit in it because I made my bed. I got to lay in it, which I was told by my family. That was the thing. You made your bed, you're going to have to lay in it.
Hmm.
Well, you go get a new bed.
You can. You sure
Yeah.
can.
And Candy's in, I'm decluttering and cleaning at the same time too.
There you go. There you go. There are seasons that come around that mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually we declutter, either by choice or by circumstance. You know, a lot of times people will have things happen, to their home or to their car or to their job or even to relationships. And sometimes we can say we're forced, but it's, if we believe in the big picture, then we believe that. And I get that there's always a little pushback with this when people say, everything happens for a reason. Um, because if it's something that's heartbreaking, it doesn't feel like that's a very fair thing, whether it's a relationship ending or an illness or, a loss of a job, whatever. Um, but we also have to step into, well, like you said, can we hold space and be in a space where there may not be space for us to hold? And maybe that means decluttering the house and getting yourself I don't know what a schoolie is, but I do
It's
know
a
what a
school
lot of.
bus converted.
Oh,
The-
okay. Okay.
See, if you, I've been watching tiny house living and all this changeover stuff and glamping gypsy wagons and schoolies and on YouTube, and I'm fascinated with it. And there's a group of ladies that the I think they call themselves the fly girls. They love to go fly fishing.
I've seen them in their little campers
Yeah,
and they're
those little
all
like
tricked out.
Shastas. Yes.
Yes.
And I thought, wow, there's such a freedom in that, And Elizabeth says, yes, I love me a gypsy wagon. And I just started looking at those things and I go, wow, that might be really fun to kind of move in a situation where you could just pick up and go.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not doing it, like I said, I'm not doing it today, but looking at your life that way, I love the story of there was a woman that I ran into at Publix. And she was so happy. She says, "Do you recognize me?" And I said, "You look so familiar." And she used to be a big media buyer for one of the ad agencies in town. And I mean, it was pressure, pressure, pressure all the time. I mean, she was moving and grooving and making six figures and just like, oh, she was a media buyer.
Living
And
her best life at that moment, right?
yeah, and she says, and one day I looked at my life and said, I am not happy. I
Mm,
am literally working constantly and it's so hard. Go, 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 pressure, pressure, pressure. She said, so I applied here at Publix and I love what I do. Everybody who sees me as I check out their green beans and their bread and their eggs, they're all going home to feed their families and they're all happy. And she said, I love what I do. She said, when I leave here, I check out and then I go home and make my green beans and stuff for my family. And it is wonderful. And she
yeah.
said, I had no idea that kind of change would lift everything off my shoulders and freedom was wonderful. So that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about as you look at your life and think about where you are now. Man, I tell you what, we are on the nerve of a lot of people. People are they're weighing in. Choices.
Uh-oh.
I have some health issues going on, so I've been trying to clean out my body and trying to see that's another clean out my body and trying to eat right
Absolutely.
and get more exercise because it's something that I can try to and hopefully it helps. Well, we know it's going to
Absolutely.
help,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know.
Absolutely. I didn't know if he was going to read more of those or.
Oh, I am gonna read more of them, but, timber I love glamping. I visit all these glamping Airbnbs here in Tennessee. See, that's a way to get started, I always say, is go try out the one you like, you know? There's one here in Clarksville, Tennessee, and you can go and ride horses and all this stuff is and people s they stay in yurts, and he said people call up
Yeah,
all the
I've seen
time,
those.
"I'm hurting for a yurtin'."
Right.
Oh, now I don't know did you ever hear this? You made your bed, now you gotta lay in it. Did you ever hear that? That was in our family. That was like a mantra.
Yeah, I mean, you made your bed, you got to lay in it, or you sleep with dogs, you're going to get fleas. But that whole thing. I mean, my dogs don't have fleas, so whatever. And I kind of like my bed, so there's that too. Um, but I do think that I think that also sometimes we when we do are raised with a dialect that feels punitive for maybe mistakes or maybe something that wasn't a mistake. It felt good in the beginning, So those aren't mistakes. They're just, it's not that we should be punished or we should punish ourselves for the way we think about it, but it's just that maybe it's time for a change, you know?
I think that those kind of punitive mantras that are in our brain have made us fear change, made us think
Yeah.
that we can't change, and made us think that change is all bad, you know? Um,
Hmm.
I think that, you know, I mean, I love my formative years. Um, and the teaching that my mother, the one who put steel in my magnolia.
Yes. Yes.
But I laugh because, she's been and God love her, she's great and a little judgmental about the ones I let go through my life.
Hmm.
And well, if you had done this, well, if you just married him, well, if you just done this. And finally I just told her this week, I said, Mom, I am 61 years old. And I don't know what would have happened had I married them, but I know what wouldn't probably have happened.
Right.
All this life and experience that I've had would not have happened because I never would have been here and I never would have done this. And so I think we're in a place now as if we're looking at change, don't look punitively at your past.
Right. Well, I mean, all of us have got something that has gone on in our history that we could look at and go, wow, that was a big screw up.
Yeah.
But if we're willing to be a little less judgy and look a little closer, I can assure you that there are some huge gifts in those things that you can pull from. I mean, I could remember, when I got married, my first husband, um, I didn't really want to marry him, but I did it because I felt pressured. I didn't want to let my family down. Wonderful
Yeah.
person, just not
Yeah.
my person. And
Mhm.
so, I don't look at that as, oh my gosh, that was a big screw up in my life. What a waste of time. I look at that as, wow, I learned a lot about myself, and I
Oh
learned a
yeah,
lot about things that worked for me and things that didn't work for me. And I think that, we do that with jobs. We do that with friendships. We do that, especially as we're entering in to, some people call it the second chapter, the second season, whatever they want to call it, a different season in your life where you're getting older and you realize that you want to be somewhere where you wanted. If it's a job, if it's a relationship,
yeah.
if it's a community with your family and your friends, you know, that's where you want to be. So you have to start decluttering your mind and your body and
Mhm.
your spirit to let yourself get to those places or to allow it.
My earlier show on Main Street Today, we profiled the Narrow Gate Foundation. And I said, it's a couple, and Bill and his wife that run Narrow Gate. But I know Bill because he used to run the publishing company for Loretta Lynn, Coal Miners Music.
Mm-hmm.
But now he and his wife, they didn't have kids, and they realized they had a real gift and they had a calling to help young men, not young men who were addicted, not young men. There are a lot of substance abuse issues, but young men who were struggling to kind of find their direction.
Yeah.
So they opened their home. And now they have the Narrow Gate Foundation, and they have young men from all over, and they have graduates, and they've come back. And it's just sometimes you need someone to help you just find your direction. And he had spent his whole life in the music business.
Mm.
And that change, and he and his wife said, and instead of sitting there, we don't have kids, we don't have this,
Yeah.
you can really start looking at, or you can go, what is my calling? What is my thing? And you can write a new chapter. Tim says, I'm finally getting closure on things in life. Finally sold my friend Linda's house. So closure, getting things finalized, doing something worthwhile to you. And that gives you purpose. Free your mind and spirit.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Mm-hmm.
True. Um, oh, Lisa is joining us. She says she's running late today. Well, that's okay.
Lisa's with us today. Usually she catches us on the hashtag replay. I'm glad she's with us today.
Yes. And Elizabeth says, I was literally like 60 days from the time I thought about moving to Tennessee to the time I was here. Sold my house in Minnesota and left. Best decision ever. We don't have to overthink.
No, no, we don't. We do a lot, but we don't necessarily have to.
Yeah, yeah. And Candy says, as the rebel of my family, I've gone through a lot of changes in my lifetime that a lot of people have not experienced, and not all of them were good, but I feel blessed to have done all of them. Oh, what a great
Mm-hmm.
outlook.
Mm-hmm.
What a great outlook. I was kind of the rebel too, and I would just strike off and do things. I have learned that letting people know where you're going and when you're coming back is wise, because I used to just disappear and I thought it was kind of fun to just go someplace and nobody knew where I was.
Mm-hmm.
Not so bright.
Or clean out them voicemails.
Yep, clean out them voicemails.
I
You
don't know
know,
how many times I've called you and it's like the mailbox is full. And I'm like, dadgummit, I'm gonna have to
I
text
know,
this woman now.
I know, I
But you're
know.
quick on them texts.
I'm quick on a text. I'm,
I
I'm right
know.
on it.
You know
But
what though, Devin? I've talked to people who are like, I'm so, and not saying you're overwhelmed, but I've talked to people who will say, I'm so overwhelmed, I haven't checked my voicemails or my emails, and I can't tell you how long. And I had somebody tell me one day they had checked their emails, and it was some crazy number, like it was like in the thousands, like in the mid thousands. And I said, why don't you just delete them all? Start over. And they were like, well, what if I missed something? And I said, you already missed it. If it's buried down in 956, you've already missed it. So, and they were like, maybe I should. And they were in my office at the time. And I said, well, what does it feel like? And they were like, well, that would feel great if I did that. And I said, well, get your phone out. And they did it. And they were, initially it was like, huh. And then it was like, and what they did was went in and kept the last like 15,
yeah.
and then the rest of them they let them go.
Oh, wow.
And it was to hear them say it, it was like, it was, you know they could breathe.
Hmm.
they didn't look at their phone and see that little box with all them bazillions of emails, knowing that they need to call somebody, they need to text somebody, they need to write somebody, they need to do this, do that. I said, you can start over. You have permission to start over.
Tim says, "Amen." To learn the lessons of our past and embrace you, the here and now. I love
Mm-hmm.
that. Candy said, "I knew we were so alike, sister." Is that I always have to clean up my voicemails too. And I'll tell you, it occurred to me, and I learned that I can email special ones to myself. Uh, and I have a real phobia of losing people after the last 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I have
Rightfully so.
I have about 6 voicemails that are there that are from people. It's their last communication with me,
Mm-hmm.
and so I've got some of those saved on there. Then I started emailing them to myself because every time, I mean, my mom is 85 and she will call, and I laugh every, this is your mother, because I never would know. I never would have caught the, but it's the sweetest. And
Yeah.
so I save those little things, and people will leave me a message. And so I save, my messages from those people that I go, well, I know that just by arithmetic, they're probably going to be fewer days on this earth than more, and
Mm-hmm.
so I keep those, but it fills up because I
Mm-hmm.
could have 25 for my mom in a day, and if I'm on a do not disturb because I'm in a studio and then I come back out and I go, well, there you go.
Right.
But getting rid of them is freeing, and you can't email them to yourselves. Joy says, I think me and you might be kin. Your mother sounds just like mine. My mother sounds like everybody's mother. I'm just going to tell you what I've learned is on this show is we all have that energy of that person that we kind of laugh at, but you know, mothers and daughters, mothers and sons, they all have a communication thing that's very similar. Elizabeth says, I can't stand those little notification numbers on my apps. Got to clear them out nearly immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Are
I
you
do
a
too.
clear out immediately?
I clear them out, and what gets me is when there's one somewhere on Instagram that's like a request from somebody I don't know, so it's hidden under 3 layers of something, and I still see that little notification, and I've gone through all of them. It drives me nuts. But yes, I clear out my notifications. I don't. There's nothing about seeing little numbers all over my screen when I turn my phone on. It makes me feel good. I mean, if I go into a session, I'll come out of a session and sometimes there's 15 or 20 text messages from folks. And I start at the bottom and I work my way up, and, resolve everything we got to resolve. But well, I don't have to, I choose to allocate time to take care of that stuff because one, it allows me to feel better. And two, I'm responding to someone who's, got a question or whatever.
Elizabeth says, oh my God, I moved those apps to the last page. It makes me crazy. Y'all are so funny because I don't even see that stuff. See, that's the thing is like, my sister looked at my email. She goes, you have 110,000 emails. I said, that's my filing cabinet. Yes, I do have 110,000 at least on my one.
Really?
Then I go back and then I'll do a clean out day and I'll get rid of, you know, 2,000 at a time of, my Bed Bath and Beyond coupons. But, but I use it as my filing because I can go back like and I go invoice, and like if did I send that invoice or did I not? And I miss a few, but as a general rule, it's just my filing cabinet. I used to keep all the paper,
No,
but you
okay.
don't do that. You don't do that either. You don't keep the paper either.
Mm-mm. No, I love paper. I'm a tangible gal. I
Yeah.
love me some paper. I love to put stuff on paper. I love to keep little notes, but um, it also, unless you have a great organizational system, you end up repeating, reinventing the stone when you're trying to make copies of things and all of that. So I do have paper on clients, but for the most part, everything else that I do. Now I've got, my daughter will laugh if she's listening to this for me saying, for the most part, everything else is online, because that's really not true. I have two full folders full of my book where I've gotten the first couple of chapters done, and then I've gotten um, at least 600 pages of other stuff, and it's overwhelming.
Hmm.
So it stays in a folder. And I always say, I need to go through that paperwork. So for like 5 years, my daughter has said, um, you doing that paperwork? And I'm like, mm-hmm. And she's like, so it'll be there when I get home. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it will be. Because I just haven't done it yet. And because it's not overwhelming to me, it's just not a priority.
Yeah. Yeah. That I tell myself all the time, and I go, oh, I've got to get to that. Yeah. You do what you want to do. Yes. And we do what we want to do. Let me see. Rhonda joins us, and Candy just joined us. Candy Armstrong, apologies I'm so late. UK time zones didn't change, but it seems yours must have. Glad to be here now. I'm so sorry. Yeah, we're
Oh,
still
that's
going.
right. I guess I didn't even think about that.
I didn't either.
So
I
they don't
didn't
do a
either.
time change in
Uh-huh.
the UK. We
um
shouldn't do one either, but whatever.
well, I like longer days. I'd like to stay in this time
Oh, yeah. If
now.
we're going to do one, I
Although,
want to stay in this one.
yeah, yeah. You can make the files in your email service to put those invoices and important things in. Just remember to back up your info.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I'm that person also, Candy, that if I have in my Google email, I have folders, to the side where you can move
yeah.
stuff over and all of that. And then I'll go through it. And if I've got two or three things in one random folder, I'll look at them. And if I don't need them anymore, I'll delete them. And then I delete the whole folder because it's just less.
Yep.
It's a minimalistic thing where it's like I don't have to see that, and so it doesn't. It's just not there. So
Yeah.
that is that cleaning out, like what you started off talking about. Sometimes we learn new ways of doing things. We learn different procedures. We learn different ways, and then we start cleaning out and purging, and that can be anything from your car to your job to whatever.
Joyce says, I feel sorry for all those that have to go through all my records when I'm gone. Man, they will be overwhelmed for sure. Here's the deal is I don't have anybody. I don't have anybody's gonna have to go through anything for me. I kind of started looking and I go, I better start doing this now. That's what I've been in this moment. It's a springtime thing, and I go, I was talking to my farmhand and I said, okay, I'm ready to let some stuff go. So I think this morning I sold a dryer. Yes, because
Yes.
I think I go, well, I have a spare because when my washer broke, I bought a washer dryer pair and I kept one as a spare. I got it on Facebook Marketplace. I didn't spend like I didn't go to Lowe's and get a brand new one, but I had a washing machine that didn't work. So I went and got a new washer and dryer combo. Well, I've just been storing that dryer and somebody needs it. And he said, hey, can we do something with this? And because it's in his way, it's in front of the lawnmower. And so I go, yeah. And so I just said, you know what? Then that kind of started me thinking through. It's like, hey, I've got a stair stepper machine that I have not been on. I joined Planet Fitness. I'm happy to be there. And I don't want to keep machines. I don't want to
Yeah.
keep a machine up in my house. So I'm going to have a big old, yard sale culling Facebook Marketplace extravaganza because I don't need to be encumbered by things. Encumberments, that's what this show is about. I think that's what I was feeling
Yeah.
today when I said,
Yeah.
hey, let's talk about encumberments.
Because otherwise, you'll have your schoolie bus all tricked out, and you'll have a flatbed with 12 pods on it.
That is me.
I'll
That's
be
me.
like, okay, she didn't scale down enough.
I know. And it's just funny because when we start thinking about that, Corinne says, I'm waiting for the thaw to hit here before I even think of spring cleaning. Well, but bless her. Corinne, you're in Buffalo. So, oh my
Oh,
gosh. Yeah.
yeah.
Brandy, hi, Brandy. Confession: I have a room with shelves that's filled with paper that needs to be processed. I feel you, girl. I think that I feel overwhelmed when I open the door to the room, so I often keep it closed. Help.
Hmm.
Well, I can't help you, but I know Teri can.
And what I would say to that is instead of, it's the saying that you use, Devon, about, how do you eat the elephant one bite at a time, you know, um, start with giving yourself a timer of 30 minutes and going in and taking out one little section of paper
Yeah, one stack.
and doing what you need to do with that, and then doing that again, and make that allow that to become a new healthy habit or a new healthy behavior. And I know that sometimes it can look overwhelming. We can do lots of stuff that feels overwhelming, Um, but when we stay in the present moment and we let ourselves just breathe through it, we can get more accomplished. We can
Yeah.
stay regulated. We can things feel less scary and more possible, even if it's not something you want to do.
Candy said, keeping my
Nobody
ergometer
go into a little
forever.
boxes of
Uh,
paperwork. But yeah,
mhm.
you can.
uh, Things that we had in lockdown. Here's another thing. Things in lockdown that we had. Uh, Scared we'll have another one, and so we keep things that we needed to have our sanity while we were in lockdown or during the
Hmm.
pandemic. So, Candy, I'm feeling you on that. Um, and Elizabeth says, and it feels so good when we're done. I've never had that feeling, Elizabeth. I wouldn't know, but I'm trying. Corinne says, I started clearing out some stuff and then, oh, this is neat. And I looked at more stuff rather than toss it.
Well, I think we have all done that.
Yeah.
You open up something and it's like, oh, I didn't even know I had this. And, or, oh, I don't remember this. Or, oh, well, I don't want to get rid of that. And I always tell people that's like uh, like the 5 year old or the 8 year old that has the toy box and all the toys are in it and they never look at it because the toy box is covered up and there's all kinds of stuff on top of it. So you go in and you start going through it. And the minute you open it up and you pull out that one thing, it can be a Happy Meal toy from, 7 years ago. Oh my gosh, I remember that. And that kind of goes back into the thing we talked about maybe last week or week before last, where, for adults, when we take pictures of those things, we can save them because we have an emotional attachment to them.
Yep. Candy says, we're both going to do it this year, Devon. Yes. Yes. Um, totally feel you on this. That's where we are. But change is not a bad thing. We don't have to be scared of change, and we can get rid of things, and we don't have to be connected to the things. Elizabeth, and this is our last one, you guys, because Teri's got to get out of here. She's got a big day ahead of her. Cleaned out my master closet that last weekend, 3 big boxes for donations. I'm done saving just in case, especially with clothes. I'm telling you, I have a room that is literally, I can hardly get in it because I've just clothes. And I'm going, I looked in there last night. It's a spare bedroom. I don't need it. So I was looking through there and I went, what am I doing? Trust me, that's going to be an empty room because I know I haven't looked at one thing in that room for at least a year. At
Yeah.
least I didn't even like looked at it.
Yeah.
So I think I'm okay to get rid of.
Well, on that note, I'm going to
Mhm.
put Jack back in his cage or his crate because he's healing from his ACL surgery. And I gave him, he got paroled today to come in here and lay by me while we do this today so that he's out of
Oh,
his pen. But I don't know. Well, again, I just want to, for everybody who joined us late today, I just need to throw it out there one more time that I'm so proud of you, Devon, for
thank you.
your soon to be inducted into and the ceremony that shall follow. And we were just talking about this a couple of weeks ago. And I said something along the lines of, I think I'd even ask you, like, I said something about, you being recognized. And you said, well, no, I don't, and we just kind of let it go. And then look, all of a sudden, here you are. You fancy now. You all special and fancy now.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Well, it's the ceremony, and you guys are all invited. The Tennessee Radio Hall of Fame ceremony is going to be at the Mule House in Columbia, Tennessee, July 29th, and I think it is open. You might have to join the Tennessee Radio group to buy a ticket. I don't know that. I don't know any of the details, but they'll let you know. And
Yeah.
it would be really nice to have anybody that wants to be part of that.
I'm
Um,
gonna be there. I'm gonna be there cheering my girl on.
my sister gonna be there,
I'm
so
gonna be there. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you.
thank you. Well, I'm grateful to each and every one of y'all, and for y'all to join us each and every week. If you want to reach out to me personally, devonoday@gmail.com. And
Hmm.
throughout the week, I think about the ending of this show. I think about when I get chaotic in my life.
Go ahead,
Teri
finish your thought.
Teri closes out the show, and I feel like everything lifts when Teri says her magic words.
I'm going to just show y'all this real quick. I think I have shown Elizabeth this. I'm pretty sure I did. And I don't know if everybody can see this. If I hold it up to the camera here, can everybody see it, Devon?
Uh-huh. Oh, it's a new shirt called Increase the Peace. Oh my God, I want one.
I have got a few designs made up. Dana Jones Music was so kind to work with me on making some designs and stuff. And she's played around with them, and she's been so patient with me when I'm like, what about this? And can this be this way? And can this be this way? And she's been just like, she just laughs all the time. And she's like, yep. So I'm going to be getting a line of some things out in candles, in journals, in canvas bags, and in shirts. And so, and it's that saying, increase the peace.
I think that before we go to Ireland, a whole bunch of us in this group are going to Ireland in April. And so we need to get our Increase the Peace shirts to wear.
There you go. There
We
you
wear
go.
our little team, our little Irish Increase the Peace people.
Right, right. Well, and so that said, again, we appreciate each and every one of you and you choosing to spend your time and your energy with us. And we will see you next week. And until then, we would like you to all increase the peace in your life, increase your mental, your physical, your spiritual peace. And we will see you next Wednesday.